1. I work as a primary cashier at a grocery store that caters to alternative diets. Sometimes when people have returns, they'll approach the register with their first item to make sure the return is allowed, and so complete it when they check out. This isn't a problem, but it did give us a heads up for what was about to come. Out of nowhere, my boss approached and warned me about a woman that wanted a refund on a chicken. We can't do refunds on perishable food after they leave the store due to possible dangerous items inserted in the food, and no way to know if spoiled food is the customer's fault, such as not refrigerating milk and it's a 2-hour drive home. This policy is printed on every receipt and on the store's website. If you ask anyone, you'll be told the policy. So of course she was told no, but my boss told me about her before going back to stocking a short ways away. Not 5 minutes later, the lady comes up. The checking out proceeds as normal, and before ringing her up, the event starts.
So, for the chicken?
Oh yes, the chicken. I was told, unfortunately, we can't take it back due to our policy.
Why? I bought it here.
Do you have the receipt? Every answer was going to be no, but I planned to show her the written policy, and I was mildly curious about this chicken.
No, I don't.
Okay, do you know when you got it?
No, a while ago.
Do you have the chicken with you?
No, it's cooked at home.
Okay, well, we wouldn't be able to return it without any of that anyway.
But why? I bought it here. I brought it home, and it smelled weird after I cooked it. You would expect me to eat it?
I look at my boss nearby. Would you like to speak to the manager? I spoke a bit louder so she would hear me. I wasn't about to subject myself to a stupid argument. I thought they would move off to the side or step away, but no. The woman dug her feet in at my register to start arguing with my boss. I called another cashier up to take over while my register was occupied and grabbed my popcorn.
I bought a chicken here and it smelled funny when I cooked it. I want a refund.
I'm sorry, but our policy says we can't return perishable food after they leave the store.
But it smelled funny. What if it was poisoned? Would you tell me to feed my family poison?
It's our policy, ma'am. I wish there was something I could do, but it's a safety risk.
I'm incredibly disappointed in this store. I've been coming here for years, and this is how you treat your loyal customers. What if it was you that cooked the chicken? You popped my bubble. You really burst my bubble about this store. I thought you cared about people here.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but my hands are tied. We can't take it back after you leave the store with it and cook it. There's no way of knowing. I'm not saying anything against you, but it could be a fine chicken and your sense of smell is different.
No, that's not true. I've been getting chickens here for years. I didn't even eat it. It smelled fine when I brought it home, but it smelled off when I cooked it. I told my family not to eat it.
How long ago did you cook it?
A few days ago. It's still at home.
Ma'am, I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry.
This is unbelievable. I should never come back for this. You're crushing my heart. I've never been so disappointed. Who's your boss? I want to speak to headquarters.
They're in another state. I can get you the number.
Do that. This is despicable of this location.
My boss stepped away to get the phone number, leaving me alone with the woman. She shook her head when she looked at me and continued to pay for her transaction.
You hear that? Unbelievable. I would never treat people like this. If it was you, I wouldn't do this. Do you think it's fair?
Sadly, it's policy. Nobody here can do anything about it. I'm just a cashier.
I know, but if you could, you'd give me the refund because it's the right thing to do.
Right. My boss came back and handed her a paper with a phone number. She gathered up her groceries and left without another word. I wish I could be a fly on the wall for a phone call to the CEO about a woman that couldn't return a $9 chicken. 2. So after years of only sharing this story with my friends, I am finally ready to share it online, because it's truly ridiculous. In the summer of 2019, I started working at an animal shelter clinic as a receptionist. I was super excited because I wanted to start making more money, and it was a bonus to be able to see cute animals throughout the day. Little did I know this would end up being one of the worst jobs ever. First of all, the veterinarians and vet assistants were absolutely awful and rude to the front desk staff, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 people. They were all just miserable and hated life and took it out on us at the front. My co-workers were also just ugly towards me as well for no reason. I always had a positive attitude and was nice, and they just had a problem with me from the start. The customers were also rude, and I got yelled at way too many times for things that were out of my control. But I always tried my best to put them in place while still being respectful. The final straw, though, was that they made receptionists count out medication. They literally told us in training how to go back there, grab the medications and count them out, so long as they weren't controlled substances, which were locked away anyway. When they told me this, I immediately felt uncomfortable handling any medication and having that responsibility put upon me as a receptionist. They seemed to have no problem with this, as all my fellow receptionists would go back there all the time, with no problem, and no one ever went against this or questioned it. One day in December of 2019, I was working with another receptionist who, of course, didn't like me. Her and I mixed up our meds and sent clients home with the wrong ones. Thankfully, none of the pets were harmed, but she immediately went into the computer writing a note about how I messed up and it was all my fault, to cover her behind. Now, if the supervisors actually cared about the validity of the damn place, they would have easily been able to see that she was in the wrong too. It wasn't just me, because obviously she didn't notice her client went home with the wrong meds either. So how was it only my fault? Anyway, I came in next week and I had to get written up for it, while the other person had no repercussions. I didn't say a word the whole rest of the day, and I honestly wish I had exploded and told him to screw off. I stayed there about a month longer, and then by February 2020 I was gone. The injustice I faced there was just too much, and then that was the final straw. I sent an email saying I wasn't coming back, and that was it. I'm still annoyed about this because I feel like the shelter clinic never saw their wrongdoings. They just blamed it on me as a receptionist. And what about the damn higher-ups who let this happen? Who lets a receptionist touch medication? Then you're surprised when they make a mistake. They're not qualified to be touching meds at all. I'm seriously so angry all over again just typing this. But yeah, that's my story. 3. Not from the US or Europe, so while English is still the main language I choose to speak, I'm still struggling to structure my sentences properly, so forgive me while I outshine most of you native English speakers. It didn't actually say that, that's just me adding that. For context, he's the youngest son in the family, and my parents tend to brush off whatever he does, with the excuse of, we'll replace it. Well, my dad has stopped enabling that behavior for a couple of years. He moved in with his family to my parents' home after failing to make it big in Australia. My siblings forced him to come back after finding out he demanded $10,000 from our mother, who is retired and has had a stroke. It's a 5-room flat, so my sister was kicked out of her room and had to occupy the slightly smaller study room until they moved out earlier this April. My husband and I, plus our baby, are currently staying with my parents while waiting for our house to finish being built. They stayed about a year plus, and it was a nightmare with them over. In that span of time they were here, they complained about my son, who either needed to be soothed back to sleep or just refused to sleep while attempting, putting their newborn to sleep. Granted, I do feel guilty about that. Then they attempted to kick me, my husband, and son out of the house when the 2 boys had COVID. It only lasted a day for them. And I tried to rationalize it, you know? They have 2 kids. One was a year old and the other about 2 or 3 months. Anyway, this annoyed the eldest, who came down to medicate because I was already stressed out about the situation, and my dad told me that, no, you're not going anywhere. He has no right to do that. Besides, we used my parents' bathroom to shower my son, or when we needed to use the toilet, and rarely went out. This needs to be known as well, that we had nowhere else to go. We couldn't go to my in-laws' place because father-in-law, a stroke patient, just got back home from the ICU due to COVID. So I thought we were done with that. No, there's more. When their son had HMFD, their safest bet was to get their daughter out of the house. So that was a fun week of being cooped up in the room again, because not only did they allow their son to run around the house touching everything, including my son's walker, they couldn't be bothered to disinfect it. Although granted, I was told it only spreads via saliva, it's safer to be cautious. Hellfreezer's note, kids are always sticking their hands in their mouths, so wouldn't that still be a concern? First-time mom with a then 6-month-old and all that. That's fine with all those, right? It couldn't get any worse than that, right? You thought wrong. My younger brother throws a hissy fit whenever people touch his things without his permission. His wife especially. It got to the point where they started labeling everything that is theirs in the fridge. Like, no problem, but the hygiene. Oh my god, the amount of times they would treat this house like they own it. Refusing to clean up after themselves, refusing to clean the stove when they were done cooking. Let me tell you, the amount of mold wriggling white maggots we would find in their leftover pastas. Demanding my younger sister cook extra for their kid to eat, and then getting upset when she makes the wrong kind of pasta. Only they can scold their son when he does something wrong, etc., etc. But God forbid we try to pull the kind of things on them and they go complaining behind our backs to mom and dad, or to one of the other in-laws who let us know the tea. Also my nephew, first brother, borrowed my brother's bag and it got washed because it's dirty. Anywho, they moved out early April and the rest of us silently cheered, especially my husband. God, he hated them. But that's besides the point. A few days ago, I bought a whole packet, 4 small boxes, of Want milk drinks. Bought 2 packets, or 8 cartons of those delicious sweet milk. Got the white version, less sweet, for my younger sister. She took one, the red one, and I told her that hers are the white ones. But if she wanted the red version, to at least ask me beforehand, since I wanted to bring the rest to work. I forgot to bring it on a Friday, so I was like, okay, I'll bring it on Saturday. Come Saturday, again, I forgot about it, but that's fine, we chill, I'll bring it on Monday. It's still inside the fridge, last I checked anyway. Come Sunday, I went out to go to an open house because my friend was hosting. Did not check the fridge. Today I took MC, or medical leave, because my body is aching and I've been vomiting the past couple of days. I opened the fridge to take a carton out and you guessed it, they were missing. So of course the first person I thought of was my younger sister. I went after her on the phone and she swore after the last time I told her not to touch my things without permission. She only took her white one once. So I went to my mom and asked her if anyone had taken them. We had guests over with kids on Saturday evening. She asked me to describe them, and when I did, her eyes widened and I heard her whisper, "I thought your younger sister bought them." Which is like the worst excuse you could come up with. And it still doesn't excuse anyone taking them without permission, by the way. So I asked what she meant, and she said that my younger brother took them. When? When did he come back and why? Sorry, still extremely salty about that. He doesn't even live here anymore. If he took 1 single carton, hey, I'm fine with that, but he took all remaining 5. I think the best part was my mom who said they, my parents, would buy it for me. And I was like, the hell? Where's the logic in that? I only want to know why that little sucker did that when he had the audacity to get upset when someone touches his items. So I blasted him on our WhatsApp group. My dad says he'll replace it and to start writing our names on the stuff we bought just to be safe. I replied back with, I can replace it on my own, I just wanted to know why he'd do that without asking who it belongs to, and if it's okay to take it. You don't see me waltzing into his home, grabbing whatever we want. He doesn't even live with us anymore. Also, I might as well leave the house and rent a place instead if it means a 100% guarantee no one is going to take my things without telling me. Meanwhile, it is heavily cheaper to stay with my parents. I can choose to rent someplace else. My mom just refuses to let me do such a thing because I'm also her eldest daughter and baby. And that's another story for another time. First brother told me to quit it, messaged me directly, saying that the youngest of the brothers is the golden child and it is to be expected. Hell, it is. I told him I ain't letting our parents pull that on me. I'm not going to let them enable him. He's not the only one who knows how to throw a tantrum. This was spoken in the heat of the moment. I won't throw a tantrum, but I am not going to tolerate my parents enabling him further. Easily, I would have just kept quiet if my dad had just stopped at "we'll investigate it," but the moment he mentioned replace, I lost all my patience. Anywho, everything's quiet as of now. No replies from my younger brother or his wife, who is a whole nother story. Or my parents too. I'm simmering still, but not as angry. Gonna buy the drinks again if they still have it on sale later on. Thanks for listening. I've always been reading on entitled siblings and family, but never really thought of my younger brother as one until he got married. Also, I'm aware that I'm a bit of a butthole too. I'm just sick of my mother always defending his actions or enabling it. Once my mom told my younger brother jokingly to slap our youngest. After the third slap, and humiliating her, did our mom tell him to stop. She ran away from home for 3 days. I wonder why. This is an Asian household. I don't get why my younger brother is getting favored because our youngest sister is the most successful of all of us. Might be because he's the youngest son. I'm extremely petty. That's why my younger sister always listens to my warnings. The last time she didn't listen to me to stop using my makeup remover, when she already has one, I went up and used up all of hers. She used up all of my coconut balm makeup remover and didn't bother to close the lid. Since then, she's always heeded my warnings and would ask my permission in advance if she needs to borrow or use something of mine. I've gotten into a scuffle with my youngest brother as well, but I'm pretty sure he's got nothing inside that head of his, because he's learned nothing. Four. I live in Philippines, and admittedly the supermarket staff are easy to identify, with their black trousers, slacks, and yellow t-shirts with red logo on the left breast area. There are often a lot of people in different uniforms that are promoting their company's stocks, and even if you do make a mistake asking them first if they work there, we'll explain they are reps. But we'll call for a supermarket staff member for you. Sure, there are problems at times trying to get people to check if they have more stock out the back, quite often getting an out-of-stock answer rather than going to look and see if there is any more in the storage area. People, customers, are often entitled as there is a dedicated checkout lane for pregnant women, disabled people, and seniors, which generally isn't too crowded, which young people think is the best place to pay as the line is so short. Being Asians and not wanting to lose face, most of the cashiers don't turn them away from the clearly marked lane, which does annoy those that should be using the checkout area. This lane also has some of the best baggers on hand, packing your purchases in carrier bags or boxes, which are tied up with carry handle, and either put in your cart or on a stored dolly to get the items to the car park. Most times I just have a cart full, which I start to push out myself, despite being 76 years old and needing a cane to walk, due to 3 minor strokes in 12 months. The cart is a great aid to hold onto for stability. When I reach the exit and entrance, there is a ramp to get down to the car park level in front of the store. There are also 2 or 3 security guards standing there, keeping an eye on the car park, chasing off beggars with their shotguns, helping protect armored security vans, bringing and collecting cash several times a day. They are always smiling and greet me by uncle, and when COVID was at its peak would usher me straight in, instead of standing in queues when limited customers were allowed in. As the invalided and aged customers, they wanted to get us in and out as quickly as possible to reduce the spread of disease. Now one of the guards pulls out my cane and hands it to me and takes the cart down the ramp in front of me so I can descend at my pace, then takes it to my car, which he has already noted where it is parked, and loads all my purchases into the truck and takes the cart back for me and refuses any money I offer. My last trip I was in a different car, one I had owned previously, as I was having work done on it. But he asked if I was in the Toyota this time, not my Honda, as he thought he recognized the plate number. One other time I was in shopping for cartons of cigarettes for my store, and they were waiting for a delivery of some stock as it was arriving. One of the girls on the separate counters said if I wanted to pay for a few cartons they were short of, she would deliver them to my house later in the day when she finished her shift, as she knew where I lived and it was only about 1 kilometer from me, which she did on her motorcycle mid-afternoon. I just can't understand why Westerners make a fuss over shopping when honey attracts more bees than vinegar, and being pleasant has many rewards. 5. Believe me or not, this happened to me in one day. I, 30, female, work customer service, hair store if anyone cares, and I love my job despite the crazy and rude customers I may get once or twice a week. From putting money on the counter to pay, but wanting their change handed back, to wanting the most expensive thing in the store, only to complain about the price of it. I thought I dealt with it all, but this was baffling to me and takes the cake. Please note, no cakes were harmed in the writing of this story. We just opened, and we only got a few customers come in. 3 people exactly. A woman bought 4 bags of braiding hair to me at the counter. I smiled and was about to speak and ring her up, but she cuts me off and says she's not ready yet and goes down another aisle. She brings back more stuff and continues to tell me each time she's not done yet, or she's still looking. I offer her a basket to carry her items, but she said no and leaves again. She makes about 4 trips back to the counter at this point, so I decided she didn't want a basket. I moved her items behind the counter with me to be out of the way. When I do this, another customer is actually ready to check out. I happily start ringing up all the items, but then guess who walks back up? She immediately asked where her things were. I told her I moved them to the side so they wouldn't be in the way of the other customers, and I didn't want to accidentally ring her stuff up with someone else. Well, she wasn't happy to hear this. She said she was almost done, and I shouldn't have checked out anyone else before her. That was apparently the point of leaving all her items on the counter. I reminded her she told me multiple times she wasn't ready, and I offered her a basket so she could shop freely, but she snapped at me, and saying she didn't want the basket, and I shouldn't have checked anyone out when she was there first. I sighed deeply because it was 9:30-ish in the morning now, and I really didn't want to deal with this so early. We literally just opened. I told the woman just because she set something up here doesn't make it a save my spot in line pass. If you say you're not ready and someone is done shopping, I will get the next person in line. I asked her if she was ready now, holding up my scanner. She said yes, but she wanted my manager, the store owner, to do it. I said he's out back doing inventory, and I couldn't leave the counter. She was angry and claimed she was in a hurry to get to work. I rung up her stuff. Mid-slow. Which annoyed her even more. I don't care. After I gave her the bag, she said she's gonna talk to my manager later. I smiled and said, okay. I told him about it, and he rolled his eyes and told me not to worry about it. I wasn't, but I laughed. Fast forward to noon. I went on my lunch break, picked up my order, returned to the parking lot of my job, and sat in my car eating while watching videos on my phone. The next thing I hear is a knock on my window. There is a woman, a different woman, standing at my door. I rolled my window slightly and asked, yeah, can I help you? She said she needs help. I'm thinking like she lost something or her car won't start and needs a jump. I say, sure ma'am, what's wrong? She says I need your help in the store. Immediately I shook my head and said, no. I told the girl I was on my lunch break, but my manager was in the store to help her with anything she needed. She then says, but I want your help, so come help me please. I tell her no, but I'll be back after my break. She looked so offended, I guess, and says while folding her arms, are you really not going to come help me? I looked at my phone, then back at her and say, ma'am, I have 20 more minutes left in my break. When I get back, I'll help you, if you only just want my help, but I'm not leaving my car. She stomps into the store, and I went back to my videos. Not long after, I see the girl standing outside with my manager pointing at me. According to him, she was trying to get him to make me come in to help her with whatever she needed. He told her I would be back in later, but he would help her. She refused his help and left the store. I swear I got a headache from all this. I told my husband about it the day I had, and he said maybe the second girl liked me and that's why she only wanted my help. I told him even if that was true, she still would have to wait till my break was over. We laughed about it, but it really was the craziest encounter with entitled people in one day for me. Hellfreezer's note: I think I have an idea what was happening with the second woman. Some people just don't think men can have anything to do with fashion-related things. So I assume the lady saw a man in the store and thought, oh no, a man! I must find a woman to help me, which is, of course, nonsense. I once encountered a similar thing where there was an old lady who didn't believe, she refused to accept my advice on a baking issue because she didn't believe that a man could bake. Again, complete nonsense, but Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Idiots in the Wild, episode 165, and thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button and share the video around. If you'd like early access to these videos, you can get that through my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. Just support me there for as little as $1 or more a month to access those videos. You'll also find a link in the description to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring. And if you really enjoyed today's video, you can leave a tip by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath the video. None of that's required, but I do appreciate it. Okay, no other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is: do you like to take your holidays in the summertime, or do you prefer to wait to a later time of year? I say this as someone who has not taken a holiday in a long, long time. And when I do, I never go away. I usually like to just relax at home. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And this was in relation to forms of entertainment you were enjoying and you gave up partway through because it just wasn't hitting for you in the same way it used to. A lot of these answers involve The Walking Dead. I can relate to that too. I was enjoying The Walking Dead comic, and it was just after, maybe a few issues after the whole Negan storyline wrapped up. I dipped out. I wasn't caring about it anymore. And the TV show, I was behind on it anyway, with the intention that I would catch up. I was about a season or so behind. Then I heard they were introducing Negan into the show, and I realized, I don't care anymore. So I stopped. I did initially enjoy Fear the Walking Dead in the early episodes, and I wish the part where the outbreak, the zombie outbreak, had been unfolding had went on for much, much longer. I felt they rushed that too much. I like the stories where the beginnings is happening and people are kind of just realizing what's going on. And before we do have the answer, there will be spoilers from a few seasons ago in Walking Dead. So if you don't want to know, you might want to dip out now. Okay, I think they're gone. I'll tell the rest of you guys the answer. And today's answer comes from Short and Sweet. The Walking Dead. I stopped watching when Coral was bitten, and I haven't had the urge to watch it since. Thank you very much for your answer, Short and Sweet. And with that, I'm gonna head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.